Hey guys, Danny here. I hope you're all doing well. Today we are looking at a drone. Thanks to Ruko for sending this out to me. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that properly. So this was sent to me for review. As always, do bear that in mind. If you'd like to pick up this product, you can find a link down below. And also, sorry I haven't posted for a while. I've been a little bit sick and a bit busy. So hopefully I'll get back into the swing of things pretty soon. This version comes with 2 batteries and it also comes with a nice case. As you can see, it feels pretty good quality. Most of these drone cases I find that come bundled with drones are pretty good for the most part, and they seem to hold up quite well as well. You also get a phone holder and a controller, a dedicated controller, as well as a user manual, a quick start guide, some extra props, a little screwdriver in case you need to change any of the parts, your charging cable, one for the controller and one for the drone. The controller has a built-in battery, which is pretty cool. I always like that personally. I quite like the design of the controller, however I don't really like the finish of the plastic. It has quite a cheap feel and look to it. The controller overall feels pretty lightweight, which kind of adds to that as well. The buttons, again, they're absolutely fine, they work fine. They just kind of have that slightly cheaper feel that you get in more budget drones normally, and this one is kind of coming in on the lower end of the mid-range, so I would expect it to feel a little bit better quality. The phone holder is very easy to take on and off. That feels pretty sturdy, easy to adjust, and it felt pretty good with my phone in there. Didn't feel like it was going to fall out. Pretty standard to what you'd expect with most of these phone holders. No real complaints there. So they state this drone has a 4K camera, but if you've been in the space as long as I have, you know saying 4K doesn't really mean a lot because the quality can still be pretty terrible. As you might have seen from the start, the quality on this one isn't great, but I'll be showing that in a bit. But it does have pretty large batteries, which give you a decent flight time at least. The camera isn't on a 3-axis gimbal. It just has the ability to be adjusted 90 degrees, which is motorized, and it's on some dampeners. So that does give you maybe a little bit of stability, but it doesn't really make a huge difference when you're actually shooting video. But it's better than not having it at all. You will need a micro SD for this one as well, as the photos and video is saved to that. But overall, the build quality of the drone, I did feel that it looked and felt a bit better than the controller, which was nice, as this is kind of the main part of the product. So quality wise, it felt pretty decent, and I do like the finish. Moving on to the flight test, I have put the volume of the action camera really low because of the wind noise, but I'll try and edit it so you can kind of hear the drone a little bit. If you can't, that's probably because I've had to just kill the audio completely. Of course, I did my compass calibration at the start, which you should always do to help with the drone's general stability. I also did a accelerometer calibration as well before I took the drone off, just to make sure. And I tried to wait a little bit longer to see if I would get any more satellites. I think there was about 10 when I took off. Downloading the app, connecting the controller to the drone was all very simple. I just followed the quick start guide, so that was all pretty seamless, no problems there. The app was also easy to download, and all the instructions were pretty clear, similar to a lot of other apps I've used, like Hubs and apps in the past. Layout was pretty good, and you can see the feed in the bottom left. I noticed initially that it was struggling a little bit to hold its altitude, which I found a little bit bizarre. It did kind of stabilize after a little while. I had to keep kind of putting the drone higher up, and then eventually it kind of seemed to steady out and hold its position fairly well, as you can see. My first impressions were the controls felt pretty responsive, nice and snappy. The general stability of the drone was quite good. I did find that when you kind of took your hand off of the stick, it was sometimes a little bit kind of slow and wobbly to steady itself, but not at all in a bad way. It just didn't feel quite as precise of some other drones I've tested in the past. Just that kind of feedback, that latency time to the drone, how quickly it moves and stops to when you move in the stick. It's hard to describe unless you've flown a bunch of different drones, and you kind of get the feel to how responsive they are and how safe they feel to fly as well. The more control you feel of the more in control you feel of a drone, the better it feels to fly in general, because you feel like you're having a better experience. The drone feels really responsive, you'll feel comfortable flying it maybe in tighter spaces, and just kind of having that nice feedback is always really good, and can determine the difference between a more budget or a higher end drone. You can often feel those little subtle differences. This one was kind of somewhere in the middle. It felt, I would say, decent for its price. I would expect it to perform better in some areas, like its camera, which I'll be talking about a little bit more, and I'll show you some examples. Here I was limited by the range in the settings, so I actually go in and change that so I'm able to fly a little bit further away. The return to home option as well, I was really happy to see, was really quite snappy. As soon as I gave it the command, it started to go up to its set altitude and return back to me straight away. I was quite happy with how quickly the drone returned to me and the position it came back to. It wasn't exactly overhead where I am, but it was close enough that I'd feel confident using the return to home feature. You'll also notice I've angled the camera down here using, there's a little slider wheel on the controller, and you can use this to face the camera down or forwards, and it's on a nice setting, so it's not too slow and not too fast, so you can get a kind of decent pan if that's something you want to do. Here I've put the drone into GPS follow mode. This is not a visual follow mode, so there's no kind of AI tracking. Some drones you can highlight yourself and the drone will visually track you. This is just based on GPS, and often when I've tested this feature, I would say like 80% of the time it's pretty much unusable. It's just really bad. Of course this can depend on your GPS signal at the time, but just generally it doesn't really work with most drones. But you'll see here it's actually working pretty well, which did surprise me. There's a few moments you'll see it loses me, but it then regains where I am. So I was actually really impressed with the follow me mode, especially as I said, it's just a standard GPS follow and not a visual tracking. I also did try to test the orbit feature, but for some reason I couldn't get it to work. It kept coming up with a control overlay, and then the drone disconnected. So I think it might have been a connection issue to why the drone actually stopped working, not the feature itself. But this is kind of worrying. I did keep full control with the controller. The controller did continue to work, but the actual signal just cut out from my smartphone. So this would have been a little bit scary if I had the drone at quite a far distance from me, and was a little bit worrying for this to happen. It shouldn't really happen, especially if the drone is this close. Moving on to the camera, this was easily the most disappointing part of this drone. When you consider they sell for about £270 on Amazon and £230 on the official website, that doesn't include any shipping costs. I don't know what they are, because it will depend whereabouts you are, obviously. I think the camera just underperforms. This isn't a really new drone. There are some reviews of it, I think, that are almost a year old. So that could be why, but generally I just think for the price you're paying, the video and the photos just really let down this drone. So I'm not sure if it's something I can recommend because of that. If you can get over the video quality, I think this is a decent drone, but I don't really feel like as an overall package, it's something I could really recommend myself. But as always, please get a second opinion. Don't just take my word for it. Watch some other reviews of this drone and build up a picture before you make any decisions. I think I'm going to wrap up the video there. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing for more videos like this one. And of course, I will see you in the next one.